We're raising it from here to here. That's right, in this video, if it wasn't clear from me raising the Kubernetes logo up, we are upgrading the cluster. It wasn't clear, was it? It wasn't very clear at all. Let's just move on from that. Let's put it behind us. It doesn't really matter anymore. It's gone. Right, so yeah, we're upgrading the Kubernetes clusters. The first thing to do when doing something like this is read the patch notes, read the change logs, because sometimes API versions change, and when they do, they can cause issues, or at least when they're removed anyway. So when it went from the beta of the ingress or the beta of the deployments, I can't remember which one it was, around 118-ish, somewhere around that point, they did a flip. A few versions later, they removed it. In my old workplace, some people didn't pay attention to that, even though we told them about it, and their workload stopped working. Their ingresses stopped working, everything just died because they didn't upgrade everything. We then had to roll everything back until they upgraded and then roll things forward again. It was a nightmare. So make sure you read your patch notes, make sure you read your change logs, and just keep on top of things like that. You can't just blindly update because some things will go wrong sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. Okay, so cluster upgrades. Let's get into it. Now, before we start, I just want to quickly update something that I mentioned a couple of videos back. So a couple of videos back, I told you to come onto this page and copy and paste these 3 commands in to update the apt repo that was being used by Ubuntu for pulling Kubernetes packages. Now, the previous repo was apt.kubernetes.io, and when you use that, you didn't have to specify the version in the apt repo for which version of Kubernetes you were upgrading to. Now, you do have to do that with this current one. So when I did this video originally, I had done the upgrade on the previous repo, and then I released that video saying, right, now update your repos. The problem is, if you followed that instruction, you're going to have issues doing this video now, which is why I've now re-recorded this video completely. The whole on-screen bit you're about to see has been re-recorded. I rolled the cluster back to 126, and now I'm going to go through it properly. So if you did what I said the other day, then congratulations, thanks for listening, but you're going to have to make a small change. If you followed along with that video, just follow along with what I'm going to do here, because I'm going to revert this back from 128 to 127, which is where we're upgrading to. If you haven't done this already, go ahead and copy and paste these 3 commands in, but when you do it, just change this here to 127. Do not change this one. The key will work for all versions that are available. 126, 127, 128 will all work on that same key, so you don't need to worry about updating that. If you did 126 here, when you come to do 127 and 128, it will just overwrite the key that's in there. So yeah, I just want to clear that up. Make sure that this is on 127. Like I say, if you've already followed along and you've made that change, don't worry about it. I'm going to do it now on mine because I need to make that change too. So I just wanted to clear that up before we start. Right, so let's go in on the etcd nodes first, then we'll move on the control planes and then the worker nodes. We need to do a version from 126 to 127 and then from 127 to 128. So the first thing you have to do as part of the upgrade is update the repo to the version you're going to. So what I will do is vim etc at sources.list.d/kubernetes.list. And in here you can see I'm still on 128 from when I did that upgrade originally. Well, I've purposely set this up to be in the position that you may be if you followed that instruction a couple of videos back. So presuming you did, then all we need to do is change that 128 to 127, and that's it. We'll write that out and quit. We'll then do apt update, and I'll go ahead and do that on the other nodes as well. So vim etc at sources.list.d kubernetes.list, and then we'll go to 127 on here, and then finally apt update on the worker nodes, and then we'll do the same on the etcd nodes. So I've just clicked enter a bit early there. 27, and let's write that out. Okay, we'll do apt update on there, and I'm still using that 128 key, and as you can see, there's no issues with that, so you can leave that key on there. Okay, so now everything is running on the correct repo that we need to be on to install Kubeadm 127. You can't install Kubeadm 1.27 from the repo that you just saw there, the 128 repo. It's tied to the version. So that's it. We're up to date there. Let's go ahead and update etcd now. To do that, we need to upgrade the Kubeadm packages, but we can't do that yet because everything's still on hold. So let's just take them off hold first. So we'll do apt mark on hold, and then we type in the name of the packages. So we'll do Kubeadm. We also know kubelet and kubectl are held too, so we'll do kubelet and kubectl in that option as well. We've unheld them, and we want to go to 127, so we could just do apt install -y kubeadm, and that would work. That'd take us to the latest version. If you're doing the exam, however, they might ask you for a specific version like 127.3. To do that, we do apt -cache Madison, and then we type Kubeadm, and that will give us a list of all the package versions available. So we want 127.5-1.1, which is the latest. So like I said, we could just type, install Kubeadm, but I wanted to show you how to get a specific version here because this may well be asked in the exam. So we want this version and we want to target that version. So we could type 1.27.5-1.1. Let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to do @install -y Kubeadm equals 1.27.5-1.1. And if I press enter on this will upgrade it to that specific version. So let's go ahead and do that. And that's all installed and ready to go. And we can confirm it with Kubeadm version. And we can see here we're on 1.27.5. So Kubeadm is now up to date. To now go ahead and update etcd itself, we just need to run the init phase again. But we're going to have a couple of things we need to do beforehand. Now, the first thing is when we set these etcd nodes up way back when at the start of this series, we configured everything as per the guide, which was to do everything, chuck it in the temp folder, copy a few things across to these other two nodes, and then initialize it. That means, as a result, we don't have the Kubeadm config that we originally used to set up these nodes, at least not for etcd 0. We have it for 1 and 2, which as you can see here, there's one there is not one here. So we just need to make one for this node. Now I could go through the tutorial again and do that, or I could just grab that. And before I do, I will just unsynchronize my pane. So I'm not doing the same command on all nodes. So we'll cat out that, and then we'll go ahead and copy this, and we will do vim kubeadm config.yaml. We'll paste that in, and then all we need to do in here is adjust a few bits. So where it says K8setcd1, we're going to change that for 0, and where it says 192.168.0.5, we're going to change it for 4. And that's pretty much all we're going to do across the board. So I'll change that for a 4. I'll change that for a 4. This line can stay as it is because that's defining the members. We'll carry on down, change that for a 0, change that for a 4, change that for a 4, change that for a 4, and change that for a 4, because that's the name of this node and the IP address of this node. And that's it. We have a config file that's valid now. Now that we've got that, I'm going to just quickly resync my panes, clear the panes, and then unsync again, because now I'm going to work on etcd 0 first. If you were doing this on an etcd node where it was running as a service, you'd be expected to take a backup from the leader, and then you would stop the etcd service, do the upgrade, and then restart the etcd service. Since we don't have it running as a service, we're going to do something slightly different. So to replicate that process, what I'm going to do is take the backup, and then I'm going to stop containerd in the kubelet to make sure that the container isn't running with etcd in it, perform the update, and then restart those services. Now, let's go ahead and do this. We're going to take the backup first. Now, we've already got a command for the backup, so I'm just going to do snapshot save, and that will give us the previous command we used in the previous video. So I'm just going to run that. That'll take a backup. That snapshot is saved, and it means we can carry on now. So now I'm going to do systemctl stop containerd, then I'm going to stop the kubelet, and now I can go ahead and do the upgrade as I wish. So first thing is update the service itself. So the first thing is to run the init phase again for etcd to configure a new etcd service. Then we're going to go ahead and upgrade the kubelet, kubectl, and then start those services again. So let's do that. And before we do, just to make sure an upgrade works, we're going to cat out etc, kubernetes, manifests, and then etcd.yaml. Let's check this out. We are on 3.5.6-0. So 3.5.6.0. That's what we're on at the moment. So I'll just run kubeadm init phase etcd local config YAML file. So we'll do kubeadm config.yaml, and that's all we need to do. We'll run that. We'll see it will generate a new manifest. This will probably be as a result of me rolling back the cluster, so you won't see this error, but that's fine. Just ignore that for the sake of it. It's fine. So we'll see here we've got this new manifest that's been created. Let's go ahead and cat that out and see what's different. And what is different is the version. It's gone from 3.5.6 to 3.5.7. That's it. Okay, so the etcd static pod manifest has been updated now. Now we can go ahead and update kubectl and kubelet, and then we can restart those services. And to do that, I'm just going to use the previous install command. So I'll do reverse search for install. We'll change this for kubelet, and then we'll do kubectl equals, in quotes, 1.27.5-1.1. So this will update them too. There's one last thing we need to do because there was a deprecation notice. So if I jump back over to the documentation here and take a look at this one here, which I've opened up already, which is upgrading from 126 to 127, we need to look at the release notes because in here there is actually a flag that we were using before that has been deprecated. So let's take a look at 127, and the flag is actually container runtime. So if I just do a search, we can see here that this has been deprecated. We have this in our config, so we're going to go ahead and change that. Let's just jump back over here and we'll do vim etc systemd system and then kubelet service.d, and then 20 etcd service manager.conf. And in here we have this line, and we just need to delete this little bit here. We'll delete that, write it out, and now we can do systemctl daemon reload, and now we can do systemctl start containerd and starts the kubelet. And all we need to do now is confirm that everything's running. So I can just have a look at ps-a as a reverse search because I've got this command from previous runs, and we should be able to see here that any minute that etcd pod will come up. But if we're not seeing it come up, what we can do is do journal ctl, and then we can do xefu kubelet and see what's going on. So we've not got any errors there. We can see it's removed some old containers, and that should now be fine. So if we take a look back at this, we have it now, it's working. We've got etcd up to date on etcd 0. Let's go ahead and quickly go through the other nodes and just repeat what we've just done there. So we've brought this one back in. We can go ahead now and let's just do a check here. We did Kubeadm version. We're on the right version. So I will do systemctl stop containerd stop kubelet. So we don't need to take a backup again. We just need to actually run the init phase again. So I'll do kubeadm init phase, and I've spelled init phase wrong there. So let's just correct that. Init phase etcd local -- config, and then kubeadm config.yaml. So let's run that and we'll see the same thing. It will have a moan about my upgrade, but we can ignore that. And it's created a new static pod manifest. So that's great. We can now go ahead and do an install for the kubelet and kubectl. So kubelet and kubectl equals 1.27.5-1.1. So we'll run them too and get them updated. And now all we need to do is remove that flag in the same way we did on the first node and then restart those services. So we will do vim etc systemd system kubelet service d and then 20 etcd service manager.conf. We'll jump over to the line we need to change and delete that flag. So let's delete that. Write that out, and then we'll do systemctl daemon reload, and then systemctl start containerd and the kubelet. So let's do that. And now if I do journal ctl and then xefu kubelet, we should see similar sort of errors, just saying, yeah, okay, so it's cleaned up the orphan pods. Let's take a look at ps-a for containerd, and we should see, oh, actually that's came up straight away. Look, there you go. You can see that new one has come in. So that's good to go. And I am happy with that. If you're still not sure about it and you just want to check, we can always just take a look at the logs. So we can do logs -f, and then we can copy this, paste it in, and you can see that things are being initialized and connecting to the members. So that's node 2 done. We have etcd upgraded on 2 nodes. Let's go ahead and do the final node. So we know that we've already updated Kubeadm on this, but if you want to check Kubeadm version, and then all we need to do is stop those services, init phase, update the flag, and start the services again. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll do the stopping first. So we'll do systemctl stop containerd and kubelet, and then we'll go ahead and update those services. So I'll just go back to that command. Now I'm doing it in a very slightly different order, but it doesn't actually matter because the services are stopped. In the control plane, it matters. Okay, so just be aware of that. So I'm just going to update those now. So I'll do kubelet and kubectl. And they're up to date. I'll then go ahead and update the config file. So do that, and then 20, and update the flag. I don't have the flag in here. I must have already removed it. Oh no, I do have it in here, and for some reason it's on the wrong line. I must have had an error on that when I reset some bits. Okay, interesting. Never mind. Let's continue onwards. Finally, let's go ahead and do that kubeadm init phase. So kubeadm init phase etcd local config kubeadm config.yaml. Let's get rid of that I on the end of init and hit enter on that. So that's created a new manifest. So all I need to do now is do a systemctl daemon reload, and then we can do start containerd and start kubelet. We'll do ps-a and see what's going on. Again, might take a minute or two, so I'll just do journal ctl xefu kubelet. We've got a similar set of errors to what we had before, but that's fine. Or notifications, I should say, not errors. And we'll run PSA again, see what's happening. Okay, so there we go. So we've got that one up and running as well. So that's etcd done. That's everything up to date on etcd. We can now move forward with everything else. But before we do, let's go ahead and hold our packages on here. So I'll resync my panes and we'll do apt mark hold, and then we need to do kubelet kubectl, and Kubeadm. Yes, we're going to unhold them again later when we do the 128 upgrade, but that's the starting point there. And that's etcd done. Now with etcd done, we can go on to the control planes. So let's jump over there and take a look over there. What Kubeadm version are we on over here? We are still on 126.1. So the first thing we need to do is unhold those packages in the same way we did on etcd. So at mark unhold Kubeadm, kubectl, and kubelet. That's the first step done. Next, we need to go ahead and update Kubeadm. So we'll do apt cache Madison and Kubeadm. We're going to get the same versions as we did before, so we'll just grab that and we'll do apt install -y Kubeadm equals in quotes and the version. So let's upgrade Kubeadm across the board. Again, this isn't going to affect the control plane itself running because it's just updating the Kubeadm package. This is the point where we have to start being careful about what we do. We can't just fire in control plane upgrade straight away. So what we do is we do an upgrade plan. We then drain the nodes that we want to update. We apply the update and then we go ahead and add the node back into the cluster. So let's take a look at the plan first. Now we only need to do an upgrade plan on one of the nodes. So I'll pick the first one. We'll unsync panes here, do Kubeadm, upgrade, plan. And this will basically go through, check everything over and make sure that we're allowed to do an upgrade. Okay, so that's finished its plan and it can see here that we're on 126 across the board and it's going to upgrade to 127. And to do that, we just need to run this command. Don't run this command yet though, because we need to go ahead and drain the node. So let's take a look at our nodes. We've got kubectl, get nodes. This is just running it from my PC, as you can see, and I'm going to go ahead and drain this node first. So I'll do kubectl, cordon, and then k8s-cp-0. Now, when you drain a node, it automatically cordons it anyway, but you might want to do a few things before just draining the node. So cordoning, what that actually does, it stops anything being scheduled to the node itself. It doesn't remove it from the cluster. We want to go ahead and now drain it from the cluster. So we can do kubectl, drain, and then k8s-cp-0. Now this won't work because we've got daemon sets on the cluster, so we need to do -- ignore daemon sets. Sometimes you also need to force delete empty dir volumes, but we'll come across that shortly and I'll show you how to get around that when we do. But for now, this should be enough. So this will drain the node of these pods and any daemon sets will just be left there on the understanding that they're just going to get killed as they go anyway. So now if we take a look at get nodes, we can see that it's still showing as ready because the kubelet's still responding. It's still got scheduling disabled, but it won't have any pods other than daemon set pods on it. So now we're safe to do a control plane upgrade. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and copy this, paste it in, and get that upgrade going. So this will go through, it will do some pre-flight checks to make sure everything's okay to be upgraded in the same way it did when we did the plan. It'll ask us if we want to continue. I'm going to say yes, and it will go through and do this. And what it will do is it will go through and update the API server, the scheduler, the kube controller manager, the kubelet configuration, and then if it's needed, the core DNS pod too. So we'll just wait for a minute for that to finish, and then we will go ahead and do the other two nodes afterwards. We can also see here that it will need to pull some images. So we could run this on the other nodes, which I'm going to do because it will just speed things up along the line. And this, again, this won't affect anything. This is just pulling the images to the node. So I'll go ahead and run that on the other two nodes as well, just to make sure that everything is up to date and ready to go. And it will just speed the process up. Okay, so that's that control plane upgraded. Now we need to go ahead and upgrade the kubelets and kubectl, and then we can bring the node back in. We don't need to worry about that flag on this one because Kubeadm managed it. So all we need to do is run that install command, same way as we did on the etcd nodes, except for we change this for kubelet, and then we do the same for kubectl as well. So I'll go ahead and install those two. I'm not going to allow it to do a restart here because I want to do a daemon reload and restart the service myself, but you could just do that. You know, it's daemons using outdated libraries. Do you want to restart them? I mean, you could, but I like to be in charge of what's going on. So systemctl, daemon reload, and then systemctl, restart, kubelet. And to know if that's worked, all we need to do over here is get our nodes again. And we should see that we've got one on 127.5, which we have. So that's great. All we need to do now is uncordon that node. So let's go back to that cordon command, put un at the start. And there we go. We have one node running on 127.5. And this is fine, by the way. The Kubernetes is backwards compatible with up to 3 minor versions, which is the 26, 27-bit. So this is fine. We're okay to have one node running on a newer version. All we need to do now is go on to the next node. So we'll go ahead and cordon the next node, which was 1. And then we'll go ahead and drain that node too. So I will drain that node, and remember that ignore daemon sets. And there we go, that's drained. Now we can work on this node. So Kubeadm version. We have already updated the version, so we can just do the next command on here, which is to basically perform the upgrade. We don't need to do a plan, we don't need to do an apply, we just need to do Kubeadm upgrade node, and that's it. And it will go through and do the same process that it just did for the previous node. Okay, so that's that one done now, and we just need to do the same. Install kubelet, install kubectl, start the node again. So let's do that. We'll do the install command. Change this for kubelet, copy that, paste it, change it for kubectl, hit enter, let that update, and then do a daemon reload, a restart of the service, uncordon the node. So systemctl, daemon reload, restart kubelet, and then uncordon that node. So we'll go ahead and do that uncordon command. So kubectl, uncordon, and then the node name was kts-tp-1. I spelled uncordon wrong, so let's just do that right. There we go. Now if I do kubectl, get nodes, we can see that we've got 2 of them on 127.5 now. So we'll go ahead and repeat the same thing for the last node and then carry on. It is worth noting, I will just talk through this now a little bit just so we can carry on and explain a few things as we go. It is worth noting though that we could do 2 nodes at the same time if we wanted to. If our system could handle it, then we could for sure say, right, one's done, let's just do these 2 at the same time because we've got high availability. If these 2 nodes are uncordoned and not responding, then that's fine, it's not a problem. We don't need to worry about that. So in theory, we could have done that, but I just wanted to show you how to do it this way first. And then if you want to go down the route of deciding how you do an upgrade, I mean, think about it this way. It's okay for the control planes if you've only got 3, but if you've got 1,000 nodes, worker nodes, you don't want to be doing them one at a time. You need to consider how many you can do at once. You might be able to do 100 once, you might be able to do 500 at once. It depends on what your applications can manage in terms of outage. So that's just something worth thinking about there. So I'll do Kubeadm, upgrade node, and we'll just wait for this to finish. Do you know what? While this is doing that, I'm going to do kubectl, get pods, and all namespaces, and watch. I could have just done the kube system namespace actually, so I'll do that because that's where the changes will happen. So I'll just press enter a few times, getting a few new lines in the way, and we'll see all the pods that get changed. So let's take a look over here. So this is doing the kubelet restart first, and then it will start upgrading the controllers and the schedulers. And there we go. We can already see that starting to do that now. So it's upgrading the API servers, as we can see. We've got some new ones coming in already. And yeah, so the API server first, then it's going on to the controller manager, then it will do the scheduler. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Same process as it did for the first 2 nodes. So we'll just wait for that to finish. Which it has. And now we can go ahead and again, just install the kubelet and kubectl. So I'll do systemctl, daemon reload, and then restart kubelet. Finally, we will bring that node back in. And to be honest, it's one of those things as well, by the way. If we do kubectl get nodes, you'll see that this is already on 127.5. It's just got its scheduling disabled. If this was saying not ready, then you go and check the kubelet out and see if it failed to start. So that's another thing to pay attention to should it happen. Check your nodes first before just bringing it back in because it may not have restarted correctly. So it's worth checking that as well. And finally, we will uncordon the node. So uncordon number 2, and that's our control plane updated. So we've got the control plane up to date now. We've got the etcd nodes up to date now. We just need to do the worker nodes. But first, before we do, let's rehold those binaries. So we will resync panes. We'll do the hold command again. So let's take a look at that and replace unhold with hold. And there we go. Control plane done. Let's jump over to the workers then and get started on that. Before I do though, there is one other thing I will quickly do. You can do this at any point, but I'm going to do it now because it kind of feels like a good time to do it, which is I need Cilium up to date too, because Cilium might have updated since the last time I did it. So I might as well get that done. So if you're using Cilium, you should have the command line interface and you can just do Cilium upgrade. And if you just run that, in fact, there you go, mine's already up to date. So it will just run an upgrade in the background, update all of the pods to the latest version, and then, you know, your CNI is up to date. So it's just worth noting that bit too. Okay, on to the workers. Let's go ahead and do these. Now, we have to do the same sort of thing again with the upgrade node. We don't have to do an apply or apply. We just need to update Kubeadm, do the upgrade node, and then update the kubelet and the kubectl, obviously making sure each node is drained as we go along. And that's it. I'm going to fly through this one a little bit quicker now, and I will explain a few bits as we go along. First thing we're going to do, kubectl. Get nodes. Let's drain this one first. So we'll coordinate and then drain it. So I'll grab that. We'll do kubectl, cordon node, Well, we don't do called node, we just do called name. And now we will drain it. So let's go and get a drain command so I don't have to type it all in again. And here we go. This is the volume thing I was talking about. So cannot delete pods with local storage. It's using empty dir data. So we just need to add that flag onto the end. And you might find this more common with the worker nodes than you do the control plane nodes, purely because they are more likely to be using these sorts of volumes. Depends what you're running on your control plane though, obviously. It might happen on there too. So we'll do that. This will start evicting all the pods from the node. So what will happen is it will say, you are no longer welcome on this node, go elsewhere. So it will send the pods over to another node. And then once it's done, it will be like, right, this node is drained. Nothing else can be scheduled to it. You can start doing what you want to do. An important thing to note with pod evictions, if you don't have pod disruption budgets, liveness probes, readiness probes, things like that in place, what will happen is it will instantly just start scheduling it to a new node. So it will say, right, go over to that node, node number 1, for example. Node number 1 will start the pod up. It will start showing us running straight away, even if it's doing stuff in the background because you've not got your probes in place. The eviction will then say, oh, that one's already said it's ready, so I'm going to kick it off this node. Now, if you don't have that sort of stuff in place, then you're going to see downtime. If you have things like pod disruption budgets and liveness probes and readiness probes in place, then what will happen is it will wait until something shows us ready, which the liveness probe and readiness probe will do. But the pod disruption budget also says that you need a minimum amount of pods running. You might say, I have 5 pods, 3 of them need to be running at least. So it will only evict the amount that match that. So if 2 are running on this node, then those 2 will get evicted. If 3 are running on this node, 2 will get evicted. Once at least one of them's come up on another node and that quorum of 3 is met as per the disruption budget definition, then it will do the other pod. Hopefully that makes sense, but don't worry too much for now. We'll get into this stuff later on anyway. In a few videos time, we'll be touching on pod disruption budgets and readiness probes and liveness probes. But I just wanted to make that clear now because that is something you need to be aware of. Anyway, node is drained. Let's go ahead and get it up to date. So Kubeadm version on all of them, and we're on 126.1. So we will do the same as we've done with everything else, which is apt, mark, unhold, and then Kubeadm, kubelet, and kubectl. We'll then go ahead and do apt, cache, Madison. We already know what the version's going to be, but we'll do it anyway, just for good measure. And the more I do it, the more it will hopefully sink into your brain as well. So we've got our version there. So we'll do apt install -y kubeadm equals, and then that version. So all of them up to date, Kubeadm versions, make sure. And yes, 127.5 on all of them. So we have drained node 1. Let's go ahead and unsync our panes and get worker 0 up to date. And to do that, we just do Kubeadm upgrade node, and watch how fast this is. There you go. That was it. It was that quick. Now we can go ahead and install the kubelet, and the same for kubectl. And you might be sat there going, okay, why was it that quick? Well, it doesn't have to upgrade any of the components, essentially. It doesn't have to upgrade the API server, the controller manager, or anything like that. It literally just upgrades the kubelet configuration, and that is it. There's nothing else to do. You can see here, look, skipping pre-pull, not a control plane node. Skipping phase, it's not a control plane node. Writing the kubelet config file, jolly good. Well, it backs it up first, then writes it. And that is it. So we can upgrade the kubelet and the kubectl binaries. We don't want to restart. We're going to do it ourselves. So system ctl, and then we'll go ahead and do daemon reload. And then finally, restart kubelet. Let's go ahead and take a look at that node, kubectl get node, and there we go, 127. So we'll uncordon that node now. And that is one worker node up to date. Okay, now again, imagine you had 1,000 nodes. You don't want to be doing these one by one. So I know, based on the workloads I have running, that I can probably lose 2 nodes and it still be okay. So I'm going to do 2 nodes this time. So I'm going to do cordon node 1 and 2 kget nodes. Let's take a look. There we go. We've got 2 scheduling disabled now. And then I'm going to go ahead and drain both of those nodes. Okay, so that's worker 1 drained. Let's go ahead and do the same for worker 2. So now everything's getting evicted. Anything that still needs to be running that isn't a daemon set will get moved over to worker 0. If for any reason it can't fit, you'll see it failing. It will just keep trying to do it. And at that point, you'll have to accept it won't work and just start working on the node you're working on, or bring that node back into play. But I know it will fit on node 0, so I'm just going to let it finish. Okay, worker 2 drained. So we have 2 nodes drained, 2 nodes cordoned. Let's go ahead and upgrade both of those nodes. So what do? I mean, we should know this by now, right? We're going to do Kubeadm upgrade node. So I'll copy that, paste it into there, and then we have both of them up to date. We'll now go ahead and do install. We can change this to kubectl and kubelet. So we'll do that, copy that, paste that, kubelet, kubelet. I'm then going to grab that and paste it into there. Let's get both of them up to date. We don't want to restart that. Systemctl, daemon reload, and then restart kubelet. And then we'll do the same over here. Resync those panes, and then do apt mark hold, and then kubelet, kubectl, and kubeadm. And that is our worker nodes up to date too. So if we take a look, we just need to uncordon these two nodes, and that's it. The whole cluster's been upgraded. So uncordon, worker 1, worker 2, take a look at the nodes, and there we have it. The whole cluster's been upgraded to 127. So if we do kubectl, get pods, all namespaces, we shouldn't have anything failing. We've got Cilium just being spun up on one new node, so that's fine. And that's good. I'm happy with that. We've got a whole cluster upgraded. All of our pods are still running, so we've got no problems there. If I actually rerun that, we should see that this will make its way through. In fact, let's have a look which node that's on. So I'll output that to wide, and we'll probably see it's on one of the new ones. Actually, it's on control plane 0. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Might just need a bit of a kick. Kubectl, logs f, and it's in the kube system namespace. So kube system. Let's take a look at that. Okay, so I mean, I'm not seeing any errors as such there, and it's. Let's have a look at all containers. So yeah, still no errors. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just gonna kick the pod basically. And when I say kick the pod, what I mean is I'm going to delete it. And once I've deleted that one, a new one will be brought in its place. And so let's take a look. Get pod, name cube system. Oh, there you go. Look, already going. 10 seconds. That'll be the one that's replaced it, and that's already running. That pod got stuck, but yeah, there we go. Everything's up and running. Cluster up to date. So if you feel confident going up to 128 yourself, then you can leave it there, jump to the end to find out what's in the next video, and I'll see you there. Otherwise, you can listen to the sounds of my old band as I quietly do this in the background. There's no point in talking you through the whole thing again. I've already talked you through the whole thing. I'm just going to bring this cluster up to 128. So you can either sit and listen to some music while I do it, or you can skip to the end. Either way, I'll see you shortly.
Scholarship up with a couple of semesters abroad. Now I've got an 8-year-old daughter whose wildest dreams are of Maplethorpe. And miles all have been tattooed on her umbilical cord. Don't touch what you can't afford. I've got a Spanish-speaking Jesus hanging on my TV wall. And I've got a first edition signed copy of Hunted and prophesies the future of war. And I've got a place on the adult literacy program. That community hall, but it's all right. Don't start if you're prone to stalling. Don't touch what you can't afford, cause that's not all it's just where we come from. Connections in New York. Well, that's better than the colony of silverfish living on my bathroom floor. I tried to fix it with the dozen monkey buttons that I hacked out with my dead dad's saw. Well, it's been ringing in my ears since the day I was born. Say, don't touch what you can't afford. I got golden chalice that I drink from in the name of the Lord. And I've got a healthy disdain for this whole coil I endure. And I've got an ivory tower and a city full of scum to ignore. But I've got this shit across the door that I get to the board. Say, don't touch what you can't afford. That's not the way, it's just all we come from. Little baby, David. Like I said, I'd be living if I weren't so bored. I got a red brick scholarship, I fit a couple of semesters abroad. I've got just as much fucking right to be appalling as you've got to be appalled. And that's it. Fucking look at the state of them all, man. You know that. Shouldn't touch what they can't afford. I got Spanish speaking Jesus hanging on my TV wall. And I've got a bit of this is I could be a bunch of dummy prophesize. The prophesize the future of war. I got a place that I do an literacy program. That community hall. It's all right. Don't climb if you're scared to fall. Don't touch what you can't afford. It's not what you do. It's what you come from. And I said, little baby David's rolling up big and strong. Do you remember how we dominated the kids in the neighborhood when the light was gonna be cold? We got nothing left to fear. These are post-war years, Mrs. C. We can see it, there is no bullet, son. Cherry turned out to be a cunt. I'm getting fucked up on this wonderful evening, a celebration of the freedom like my great grandfather died for. I never learned his name, but I learned this beautiful thing to have the privilege to live without committing to a thing you believe in. So get the price star, baby, hitting harder the heartless. This is part of the fun. It's shiny, I'm full of dickheads and bitches, and after 2 hours and 2 full pictures of ass kickers, I'm not even pissed. I swear to God, man, I'm not even pissed. So fucking bored. It's the same old shit as last week and a week before and a week before. Watching these points get a kicks out on the dance floor. You wanna get down, I ain't gonna get down. I like to see you dance with all clear on my mouth. But shake it, baby, shake it, baby, baby, fist it, come on, take it on my own. It's a real shit to say. We gotta let the devil out to feel safe these days. But can't let I love it, man, I tell ya. I feel so fit, don't think it was up, pick up and try. All my life for Saturday night. Woo-hoo. Shake it, baby. Shake it, baby. But you're driving me crazy. I'm on the crazy boy. Nothing seems to faze me no more. The blood on the floors, I'm at a repose. The cost of taking you down. Well, man, process all about this best sensation I get. I know it comes forever, but I don't wanna stop here. I never really had a choice, man. You wanna get down, I ain't gonna get down. I like to see you dance, so don't be here on my mouth. But shake it, baby, shake it, baby, baby, press it, gotta take it around. And it's a real shit to say. You gotta let the devil out to feel safe these days. But can't let I love it, man, I tell ya. I feel so fit, don't think I can stop it if I try. All my life for Saturday night. Shake it, baby. Woo! Oh, we come on. Oh, we come on. Oh, we cannot fill in at the deep end, man. and I can't remember anything, and I can't remember anything, and I'm so confused, man. I'm so fucking confused, and I can't tell if it's the truth or the truth. I can't take another something clean and good or bad. Choose one. You wanna get down, you gotta stay right down. This afternoon with someone else is putting my mouth, and I'm shaking, shaking, baby. You wanna get down, now you gotta get down. Yeah, I like to see you dance, so don't be killing my mind. Shake it, baby, shake it, baby. The best I can do now. Yeah, it's a real shit to say. So easy to let it go out. So difficult to put it away. I'm just shaking, shaking, baby. All my life, all my life, all my life, all my life, all Give me your money. Give me your money. Give me your money. Give me your money, 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 money. Give me your money. I'm not under respect for nothing. Give me someone I can claim to be in love with. Give me something that looks a bit like justice so I can ease my conscience. Give me something to be proud to be a part of. Give me the okay to market here in a positive way. Give me a big stick to keep the presence of it. Give me a dream, get me clean. Give me the means to get started. Give me something to be proud to be a part of. I just wanna be a member of society. I just wanna feel like there's nothing wrong with me. I just wanna have a go, man. Get through the day, but it's really just one thing to say, and that's give me your money. Give me your money. Give me your money. Give me your money, 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 money. Give me your money for one consequence on the same old laps about being poor, being past my limit. Give me 3.5 minutes and I can prove to you my arse not in it. Give me a 20-year-old girl that could consecutively pretend to be a kid on the Disney Channel and get a tits out on MTV. Give me the fame and let me claim that I'm an artist. Give me something to be proud to be a part of. I just wanna be a member of society. I just wanna feel like there's nothing wrong with me. I just wanna have a go, man. Get through the day, but it's really just one thing to say, and that's give me your money. I just wanna be a member of society. I just wanna feel like there's nothing wrong with me. I just wanna be a member of society. I just wanna feel like there's nothing wrong with me. I just wanna be a member of society. I just wanna feel like there's nothing wrong with me. I just wanna be a member of society. I just wanna feel like there's nothing wrong with me. I just wanna be a member of society. I just wanna feel like there's nothing wrong with me. I just wanna be a member of society. I just wanna feel like there's nothing wrong with me. I just wanna feel like there's nothing wrong with me. I just wanna feel like there's nothing wrong with me. I just wanna feel like there's nothing wrong with me. I just wanna feel like there's nothing wrong with me. Fucking give me your money.
Okay, that's it. There we have it. Everything is now up to date. Everything is back on hold. And that's it. That's the cluster completely updated to 128.1. So that's it. That's everything you need to know about upgrading your cluster. So next time the release cycle comes around, which as I say will be around December time, you will be able to do it all by yourself. And if not, this video is here for you and you'll be able to follow the same process through. That's the beauty of it. It never changes really. It's changed a little bit over time, but we won't get into those little changes right now because they're not really that relevant. And if they are, they will be in those change logs and patch notes, which you will definitely read every time, right? Okay. So next video, we're going to take a look at service accounts and RBAC. Now, this is important for make sure we lock certain people into their namespaces that are supposed to be in. It means you can do multi-tenancy on clusters and make sure that, you know, people in namespace A or team in namespace A aren't doing stuff to people's stuff in namespace B. That's the best way I can describe it for now, but we'll look at it properly as we go into it in the next video. So security, RBAC, that's what it's for. And it's role-based access control. That's what we're saying. We're saying that team A can access team A. Team B can access team B. You know, that's pretty much all it is. So, yeah, I'll see you over there.